Hello, I'm Davia Chambers and this is Let's Talk Tobago. Today we're at Blue Haven Hotel in Bacolet, a place with quite a bit of history. For instance, do you know that this is supposedly the famous location where Robinson Crusoe ends up shipwrecked in the Daniel Defoe fiction novel? This hotel has also hosted many celebrities and royals, but it didn't start off like this. In fact, it was built in 1949 by a couple from England. They turned their home into a guest house to accommodate their English friends and host lavish banquets. As we tour this hotel, you'll see a cannon and also an anchor which washed ashore many decades ago. But first, let's tell you what's happening in our stories this week. CARICOM's Regional Health Agency assures there's a low risk of Ebola in the Caribbean region, including Tobago, ridding the Argyle community of mosquito breeding sites, and the Chilean ambassador comes calling in Tobago.
During the month of August, the Tobago Emergency Management Agency TEMA will be updating the Special Needs Registry. This registry lists geographical locations and data of individuals throughout the island of Tobago who are diagnosed with disabilities and may require special assistance in times of emergency or disaster. TEMA is therefore asking the public's assistance and cooperation by providing accurate information when a TEMA official visits your area.
For more information, please contact TEMA at 660-7489 or visit the Emergency Operations Center at Fairfield Complex, Bacolet Street, Tobago.
This is Let's Talk Tobago. Welcome back to Blue Haven Hotel in Bacolet. Now earlier we told you that an English couple originally owned this place, but for some reason it was left neglected for half a century before it was bought by an Austrian entrepreneur and his Trinidadian wife. They embarked upon a renovation and preservation project, a decision that earned them consecutive tourism awards from the World Travel Market, Caribbean World Magazine and many others. Right now we're in the patio where Queen Elizabeth held her cocktail receptions. And about that anchor that washed ashore decades ago, well, it's right here. But away from all this beauty, one of the world's most deadly diseases, Ebola, has killed close to 1,000 people in West Africa. Ebola first appeared in 1976, and today the current outbreak is being described as the biggest yet seen. The World Health Organization says it constitutes an extraordinary event, warning that a coordinated international response is needed to stop and reverse the spread. So what's going on in the Caribbean and specifically in Tobago? Well, on August 8th, health officials from this island met with their regional and international counterparts to discuss regulatory policies aimed at keeping Ebola out of the Caribbean. And as Kishon Wilson tells us, the Caribbean Public Health Agency says the overall risk assessment for this region remains low.
Ebola continues to cause many deaths in Central and West African countries: Sierra Leone, Liberia, Nigeria, Guinea. As of August 4th, 2014, the World Health Organization reported a cumulative number of 1,711 cases and 932 deaths, resulting in a case fatality rate of 54% due to the current outbreak. But according to the Caribbean Public Health Agency, a body established by CARICOM to act as a single agency representing the Caribbean, the public health risk posed by Ebola to the Caribbean is low at this time. There have not been any cases of Ebola in the Caribbean, including Tobago. But here's what you need to know about the virus. Ebola can be spread through direct contact, that is, through broken skin or mucous membranes with blood or bodily fluids, or tissues of infected animals or infected persons, and indirect contact with medical equipment such as needles and environments that are contaminated with infected bodily fluids. The outbreak is not yet under control, but CARPHA says the cornerstone to minimize the risk for further human-to-human transmission has to be carried out by those providing direct care to patients. The agency says they must have scrupulous case detection and contract tracing and use the adoption and strict application of infection prevention and control precautions. There is no cure for Ebola, and the outbreak has been declared a global health emergency by the WHO. I'm Keyshawn Wilson for Let's Talk Tobago.
When you think about a swamp, your first thoughts probably include a murky marsh, biting insects, and creatures you'd rather not be in contact with. And while all that might be true, wetlands also provides valuable ecological services. They act as a habitat for wildlife, aid fish production, water purification, and carbon storage. But something else happens over time undoing all this. The detention ponds in our swamps become choked with silt, and that's exactly what's happening in Argyle. But as Kisam Braffett tells us, work has begun to rid it of this waste.
Wetlands, especially swamps, have been considered wastelands that provide breeding grounds for many unwanted insects such as mosquitoes. The excess slush attracts these insects, and it could be a worry for neighboring houses with the threat of dengue fever and now the chikungunya virus. But it's not only that. There's the risk of flooding.
What we find at the Argyle swamp is a threat as it relates to the health of the residents because there's a mosquito infestation, as well as it causes a flooding threat because everybody's residential water is channeled into that basin.
So essentially, the desilting of the Argyle swamp would eliminate these problems.
One, it will allow the water to vacate the premises and head towards the sea, as opposed to forming and gathering like a detention pond. It will also cause, since there will be no gathering of water, the reduction of mosquitoes. So it is important that ever so often that the swamps around the place, that we clear it out to ensure that the health of the persons in the environs is maintained at a high standard, so we won't have a problem.
Mr. McWellington is assuring that the division has done the necessary surveys as well as highlighted a gradient for the water to flow to reinstate more solid land instead of the slushy land that exists. For those who have a particular concern for the environment, he's assuring that the process would not interfere with the natural habitat.
The process isn't so much that we're going anywhere close to the mangrove, we're just cleaning out the slush. So there'll be no problems, nothing affecting the mangroves, no excavating of any mangroves, nothing of the sort. It's just to clean out the slush so as to reduce any health concern we may have as for the residents and the people in the environs.
The division attempted to desilt the swamp on 2 occasions last year, but now they're using the amphibian excavator to better tackle the terrain. I'm Kisam Brathwaite for Let's Talk Tobago.
It's extremely difficult to keep our young people occupied these days. Their attention span is getting shorter and shorter, and technology is adapting quickly to keep them interested. Here in Tobago, there's a similar push, but this program hopes to not only get their attention, it's set up so that our youths will become custodians of culture. The participants are pulled from various backgrounds and are tasked with collecting information from our older icons. It's time to meet our youth in culture.
Community development and culture, create a program for the youth in culture, and the youth in culture, plan a program for the people in culture to celebrate emancipation.
Those young people are just some of the 14 individuals that are involved in the Youth and Culture program, a pilot project under the Division of Community Development and Culture, which harnesses the talent of Tobago's youth.
It speaks to discovery of purpose, that sense of understanding who you are. On a wider note, it helps us in the process of social enhancement in the community. It allows room for enterprise because you're able to discover, am I better off on my own? What choosing career paths. It allows you to draw on the wide scope from the basket of talents that is Tobago's rich heritage.
The program, which was started in May, sees the participants working closely with cultural icons in their respective communities so that they can gain first-hand knowledge about key aspects of the island's culture.
It's a new experience, this is like my first job experience, so it's different, it's really hectic, there's a lot of involvement in all the different events, and it's been really fun.
Well, I learned that Pembroke actually had a deeper background that we thought it's not just surrounded on the Saraka face, because I got into the idea of understanding and establishing Thomas, who is my great-great-grandfather. He brought the sarcophagus here, but he didn't only bring that. He was the one responsible for having the belly reel and the belly jig so prominent in Pembroke. So then I learned that it was not just about the sarcophagus.
Miss Annette Alfred, I learned that she's a very cultural person, and she grew up in Charleville and Coco sent her to high school. And she was there at the beginning of the Heritage Festival with JDL.
The hope is that the Youth in Culture initiative is sustainable and secures the future of Tobago's culture.
We hope that they will channel these energies into events and opportunities that is going to be long-lasting, that is going to bring about development for Tobago that will see it benefiting over not just 10 years, but over a longer period than that. We continue to witness people going, our youth leaving our shores and going abroad, studying, but there has never been that massive return. This Youth in Culture program is designed to stem the heavy fluid of people who migrate, brain drain.
The Youth in Culture program was initiated by the Secretary of Community Development and Culture, Councillor Dr. Denise Soyafat Angus. I am Caroline Wallace for Let's Talk Tobago.
We're taking a break, but coming up, you've heard of Charm School for Girls, but in Tobago, our young men aren't left out. They've been exposed to a polishing camp for boys. Thanks for staying with us. You're viewing Let's Talk Tobago, and we're at Blue Haven Hotel in Bacolet. As we told you earlier, this place is a favorite of the rich and famous. This hotel has 51 bookable rooms, and this is the room that was used by the legendary Hollywood beauty Rita Hayworth, while actor Robert Mitchum stayed upstairs when they starred in the Tobago-based movie Fire Down Below in 1957. Prince Charles was also a guest at Blue Haven in 2009. But the program we're about to share with you lacks all of this glamour. Actually, its employees are often ridiculed, but they make a huge difference to the less fortunate on this island. They're the people who intervene, building retaining walls and safeguarding limb and property when many Tobagonians simply can't afford to pay for these services. They're the people we love to hate, but for the residents they've helped, they're the unsung heroes, and here's why.
URP is making advances in developmental projects on the island. As part of their focus to upgrade physical and social infrastructure, they're constructing retaining walls and drains across communities. In the north, work is being done in Moriah, Mason Hall and Golden Lane.
With the rain that has been falling, we have some challenges with people, their houses and things. So we have to try now to sustain it by putting up some retaining wall to help them out on those areas.
Retaining walls are also being built in the west in the Wim community. Mr. Jofi says that the problem most times in these areas is guttering and people experience difficulty getting to their houses.
Some of the retaining wall is because you have to cross over on that wall to get home to your house. So the wall now is assisting you to easily access your property.
Drains are also being constructed at Coco Gully in Bethel. Mr. Jofi says that this drain is being built to facilitate the proper running of water and to safeguard people's property, livestock and vegetation. What existed before was an earthen drain which carried water all the way from Patience Hill to Coco Gully. This drain is highly inefficient, but now URP is stepping in with the construction of a proper box drain. That's about 1,125 feet long. With this massive undertaking and the others on the way, URP has a lot on its plate.
We have projects in Lambo in Patience Hill. Even on the Patience Hill main road, we have started a new project there again too. And all the other projects, as we complete the project, we move on to the next one. Because we have projects lined up. You find that every day, as we speak, projects keep coming into us. So we just try to assist and push as fast as we can with those projects.
URP is funded by the THA and falls under the Division of Infrastructure and Public Utilities. The program provides employment to just over 2,000 workers. I'm Kisan Brathwaite for Let's Talk Tobago.
We may not have any Venus or Serena Williams in Tobago, but tennis players here are making a name for themselves. It's on the courts at Shaw Park that many build their reputation and start their future in the game. But there's one particular tournament that's known for giving them that big break. That tournament started in 1984. There was a hiatus from 1990 to 1993. But since then, it has been one of the most anticipated sporting events on the island. Kishon Wilson explains.
One of Tobago's biggest sporting tournaments has started. RBC's Junior and Senior 2014 Tennis Championships is now underway at the Shaw Park Tennis Court. The tournament, now in its 30th year, has attracted about 100 athletes, with more than half of them from this island. According to the president of the Crusoe Isle Tennis Club, Dr. Warren Steele, the RBC Junior and Senior Tennis Championships hone the skills of all players.
Prepare yourselves to be inspired, to be excited, and to be challenged. Stay hungry. I wish that for myself in life, and I wish that for you as well. Sport and life is not only about winning, but about making friends and having fun.
The tournament also provides participants with an opportunity to excel on a larger scale, as many of the tennis players' future starts on these courts.
At RBC, we are committed to the development and empowerment of young people in all the communities where we operate.
When the tournament ends on August 14th, successful juniors will walk away with trophies and bragging rights, and the winning seniors $2,000 and $1,500 for the male and female categories respectively. This tournament is also sponsored by the Tobago House of Assembly, as it continues to push to make sports tourism a big part of the island's attraction. I'm Kishon Wilson for Let's Talk Tobago.
But not everyone will gravitate towards sports, and the worry for parents, especially those raising boys, is how to keep them out of trouble and steer them in the right direction. The situation is even more complicated because our boys are heavily influenced by sources outside of their home environments. Sometimes the end product is a young man with low self-esteem and one who has problems controlling his anger. Inject the Boys Polishing Camp into this scenario. It's a short-term program in Tobago designed to help with some of these issues.
After just 5 days of polishing camp, and parents are reporting that they have seen major improvements in their children's behavior. These boys, ages 10 to 20 years old, underwent practical training to address anger issues, self-esteem, identity, deportment, and general etiquette. Essentially, the camp's aim was to help boys transition into manhood. The camp's director, Michael Stewart, identified some of the major issues he found with the boys. He says self-esteem is one of the main culprits and technology has a part to play with it.
And I think that is exacerbated, really, not that it came from it, but exacerbated by our social network. So a boy can talk to a girl, as we say, lyrics a girl on Facebook, and when he sees her face to face, can't say a word. So he's hidden behind the technology. So he has a self-esteem issue that he cannot present himself publicly.
In addition to this, Mr. Stewart says that boys nowadays don't know how to socialize.
Not necessarily just these boys, but boys in general. We are locked in a conversation of girls, sex, sports, and in some cases a bit of politics. But we can't talk on global issues. We can't talk on principles and right and wrong that we see going on in society. We can't weigh the balances and so on.
Helping boys to become effective speakers and to conduct meaningful and productive conversations was also part of the plan. To cater to their learning styles, sessions were interactive and practical, and they were taught both inside and on the field.
I find the 5 week was good. We play FIFA, got fun, play chess, table tennis, and speak about loving each other and how to manage your anger issues.
I have achieved how to control my anger, and although that my team won, I really hope that next year I can come back.
There will be a 5-year follow-up to check in with the boys' progress over time. But as they leave, they seem quite charged for the future. I'm Kissam Brathwaite for Let's Talk Tobago.
It's time to take another break, but do stay with us for details of the Chilean ambassador's visit to Tobago. You're viewing Let's Talk Tobago. Thanks for staying with us here at Blue Haven Hotel in Bacolet. This pool is one of the original features of the hotel when it was initially built, and it continues to be a spot which offers a magnificent backdrop. Why? We're told that in the 1950s, Hollywood discovered Tobago and Blue Haven, and this became a place of choice for them in the Caribbean. And the Chilean ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago discovered what that Los Angeles law was all about when he came to the capital of paradise. Now he was appointed as Chile's diplomatic representative to this island on June 5th. And though he resides in Trinidad, he's aware that this is a twin island republic. The culture of the islands is very distinct, and so is the political landscape. He wanted to get a first-hand experience of this. More from Kissam Brathwaite.
The beach, lush vegetation, food, and the warmth of our people attract visitors to the island year-round. But this time, it's the Chilean ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago, Fernando Schmidt, who came calling.
He has been here for just over a month. He would have presented his credentials to the president, and clearly he felt compelled to recognizing that it's a twin island state, that he needed to be in Tobago to at least alert those of us at this level that he's here.
And so the ambassador got a personal tour of the legislature and a quick history lesson on its role and function.
With the problematics of Trinidad and Tobago in general, as a new ambassador coming recently and presented credentials recently here.
Prior to being posted here, Ambassador Schmidt served as Chile's ambassador to South Korea, Hungary, and Brazil. He brings this experience to his new role and is eager to learn more about the political mechanics of this twin island republic, beginning with this tour of the Assembly Legislature, a place that dates back to 1825 as the official seat of government in Tobago. 52 years later, that changed with the imposition of the Crown Colony Administration, but on November 2nd, 1985, Queen Elizabeth officially opened the chamber for legislative purposes. I'm Kissam Brathwaite for Let's Talk Tobago.
And away from the diplomatic stage, one of our very own competed with 11 others for the chance to represent this country at the Miss Universe pageant. She didn't win, but she used the opportunity to reconnect with her Tobagonian roots. Caroline Wallace tells us more.
Kanisha Thom has been the only Tobagonian since 2006 to represent this country at the Miss Universe pageant. Since then, many have attempted to bring the crown back to Tobago, and the newest face to have joined that quest was 20-year-old Shanika Frith.
I think at the back of my mind it has always been a lifelong dream. I always wanted to challenge myself in various aspects, and I decided that this year I was going to take the chance and enter this pageant.
Shanika says she's very happy that she was named as one of the 12 finalists in the competition. She says the journey has been a very rewarding one, even though she didn't win the title.
Coming into this pageant, I wasn't as confident as I am now. I'm so thankful for the opportunity that I could make it here. I could stand before you all today and be a confident young lady and go up for Miss Trinidad and Tobago Universe.
And as she embraces her Tobagonian heritage, the Franceville beauty has made this promise.
I'm here to make you all proud. If I haven't made you all proud already, I am trying my best to make you all proud.
Shanika visited the Secretary of Community Development and Culture while in Tobago, who readily extended support to her by providing an all-day tour of the island. She competed on Sunday, August 10th at the Trinidad Hilton and copped the prize for fan favorite. I am Caroline Wallace for Let's Talk Tobago.
Staying with the cultural theme, let's tell you about Pan with a Purpose. Quite often, our national instrument only makes headlines during Carnival, and after that season ends, things seem to slow down and the pan sometimes gets put on the back burner. But there is a plan to change that.
It's the Battle of Champions and a musical war. A pan concert put on by the NGC Steel Explosion Steel Orchestra. The NGC sponsors 3 steel bands in Trinidad and Tobago, the Couva Joylanders, the Labre Nightingale, both based in the Sister Isle, and one of our very own, the Steel Explosion. The aim is to bring the 3 groups together, along with the neighboring bands, to unite in sound. RBC Redemption Sound Setters, Carib Dixieland, Petro Train Cats and Jammers, NLCB Buccaneers, and the Tobago Panthers were all featured. And the bands did not fail to deliver. From calypso to soca, reggae to pop, they took patrons around the world and back in just a couple hours. This concert is meant to strengthen the steel band fraternity, to keep steel pan alive outside of the carnival season, to allow the band to perform a wide repertoire in a formal setting outside of Panorama, and of course, they get to do some fundraising. The event was the first of its nature in Tobago. It's an initiative that the NGC Steel Explosion intends to continue as they work to sustain the steel pan culture. I'm Kissam Brathwaite for Let's Talk Tobago.
And it's time to have your say, the segment of our program where we hear from you, our viewers. The controversial Constitution Amendment Bill 2014 has been passed in the House of Representatives. It makes way for fixed terms for prime ministers, the right of recall and a runoff vote. The Attorney General has described the passage of the bill in the lower house as a red-letter day for democracy. But the Chief Secretary, Orville London, says he's concerned about the implications for the Tobago House of Assembly and the people of Tobago. He worries about the Prime Minister's decision to push through the constitutional changes with a simple majority. And he says just as troubling is what he described as the disingenuous manner in which the amendments were placed before the House without consultations with the people. Mr. London believes the proposal only advances the political purpose of the Prime Minister. So today we're asking, do you think the bill is in the interest of Tobago? This is what you said.
No, it is not in the interest of Tobago because it is not, most of it is not done anywhere else in the Commonwealth. And we have one of the safest countries in the world.
It is good. We need to get some MPs who are not working. We have a chance to recall them. And we ain't going to get no dictatorship in the prime ministership.
Well, I know it's, I look at it from a national perspective. I think it's in the national best interest, right? How it benefits Tobago is still to be seen in terms of the runoff and all that.
I think it's in the interest of Tobago because it will give the people or the local citizen a better say.
Well, I would think so because of the fact that it gives the people added power in terms of the recall.
And that's how we bring this week's edition of Let's Talk Tobago to a close. Remember, you can send us your comments or queries on anything you've seen in this program to information@tha.gov.tt or visit us at www.tha.gov.tt. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Davia Chambers, and on behalf of all of us at the Department of Information, have a safe and enjoyable week. And as we go, here's a final look at Blue Haven Hotel.